All right, at this point I'd like to start off our speakers. To start off with, we'd like to invite State Representative and retired Army Chaplain Paul Wesselhoft to come to the podium.
I want to thank John and Kenneth for inviting me this evening to this celebration. My wife and I have attended many of these. One of the things that I wanted to do, well, some of you are blocked by the, see if I can pull this out here like this. One of the things that I wanted to do 7 years ago when I was elected is to see if I could get the state of Oklahoma to support Israel. And I knew it was risky because I didn't know what the answer was. I didn't take a poll to find out how many legislators would do that. So the first time I ran the resolution to support Israel in her birthday, her anniversary, I asked for people to vote individually because I didn't want to put any pressure on anyone. You can always do a voice vote, you know, unanimously. But I didn't want it. I wanted to do it individually. And I was so surprised and so wonderfully thrilled that everyone in the House chamber walked up and registered their vote to vote for this resolution. So since then, we have passed it unanimously in both chambers, House and the Senate. And I've passed out 100 copies this evening. I would like to read the resolution. There will be several here that do not have it. Remember, it passes unanimously. And we do this in every legislature, the 50th, 51st, and 52nd. A concurrent resolution supporting the nation of Israel and congratulating Israel on what is now her 63rd anniversary of its founding and directing distribution. Whereas the land of Israel was the birthplace of the Jewish people, here their spiritual, religious, and national identity was formed. Here they achieved independence and created a culture of national and universal significance. Here they wrote and gave the world the Bible. Whereas exiled from Israel, the Jewish people remained faithful to Israel in all of her countries of their dispersion, never ceasing to pray and hope for their return and the restoration of their national freedom. Whereas the Jewish people historically have been persecuted people from the ancient time of Moses, culminating in the 20th century Nazi Holocaust, which engulfed millions of Jews in Europe, and providing anew the urgency of the reestablishment of the Jewish state, which would solve the problems of Jewish homelessness by opening the gates to all Jews and lifting the Jewish people to equality in the family of nations. Whereas the struggle to remain a strong country, whole, complete, and free from partition, and free from terrorism and oppression continues today. Whereas in November 1947, a great travesty was righted when the United Nations voted to partition Palestine and create the Jewish state. Whereas under the leadership of David Ben-Gurion, the nation of Israel was established on May 14, 1948, and has had to defend herself and her right to exist since her founding. Whereas Israel declares that she will be open to the immigration of Jews from all countries of their dispersion, will promote the development of the country for the benefit of all her inhabitants, will be based on the precepts of liberty, justice, and peace taught by the Hebrew prophets, will uphold in full social and political equality of all of her citizens without distinction of race, creed, or sex, will guarantee full freedom of conscience, worship, education, and culture, and will safeguard the sanctity and the inviolability of the shrines and holy places of all religions. Whereas Israel is the only democratic state in the region, and this year marks the 63rd anniversary of the founding of this nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the second session of the 52nd Oklahoma Legislature, the Senate concurring therein, that the Oklahoma Legislature does hereby declare that it stands with Israel and the Jewish people in their right to live in freedom, free of terrorism, in the safe and secure borders of their forefathers. That the Oklahoma legislature does hereby commend Israel for her contribution to humankind, particularly in the fields of science and medicine, and further calls on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to continue to bless Israel. That the Oklahoma legislature does hereby congratulate the nation of Israel on the occasion of her 63rd anniversary of the founding of their nation. That a copy of this resolution be distributed to a number of people, including the embassies in Israel and in Washington, D.C. Thank you.